Hey, it's Jer, and we have quite the show for you this Monday, September 14th, 2020. There's new COVID-19 numbers and reporting, including in schools and universities, with the area around Michigan State in a, quote, crisis situation. A co-founder of the Detroit tech darling StockX has left the company as it ramps up to possibly go public. 4 Detroit pizza joints make it into the top 10 in the country, and then Fletcher Sharpe joins me to talk Lions and Detroit City FC news. After all, the NISA Fall Tournament featuring Detroit City FC and the MichiganSstars will be hosted right here in town. He has what we know so far. So from the tree-lined North End, this is your Daily Detroit. So here's a set of stories to catch you up on what's happening with the coronavirus in Michigan. Monday saw the state report 1,088 new cases of COVID-19 since Saturday and 10 deaths. That brings the pandemic total to more than 112,600 confirmed cases and 6,600 fatalities. And the area around Michigan State University is turning into a crisis situation, as described by Ingham County health officials. They've ordered a 2-week immediate mandatory quarantine for 7 large rental houses and more than 20 fraternities and sororities, with more than 200 cases connected to the new outbreak. According to the Harvard Global Health Institute, the level of spread over the last 7 days in that county would be high enough that stay-at-home orders are advised. Speaking of schools, one of the ways to track the virus that both journalists and the public have been looking for is to know if there have been outbreaks in schools and where. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services will now begin reporting outbreak information by school building. An outbreak will be defined as 2 or more cases with a link by place and time indicating a shared exposure. The new information starts today and will include K-12, colleges, and universities. Beyond the MSU information I just shared, there's an ongoing outbreak of more than 430 cases at Grand Valley State University, 270 at the University of Michigan, and nearly 230 at Adrian College. The state warns that this picture isn't a full one because of incomplete contact tracing data. Additionally, we are receiving multiple reports that there was an error last week around pandemic unemployment benefits from the state of Michigan. In a message, people were asked to recertify their pandemic unemployment assistance account. But the people they notified, in some cases, never filed for expanded benefits. They only got the stimulus dollars. Then, in a follow-up email Daily Detroit obtained Monday, there's a note saying to disregard the message, that it was sent in error, and that no further action needs to be taken. It was confusing to people to say the least, and we are looking into the cause of the error. Multiple outlets are reporting that Josh Luber, the frontman and co-founder of StockX, has left the company. The Detroit-based stock market of things sells sneakers and other luxury stuff in a way that's similar to Wall Street, with ticker prices and all that jazz. As of this time, it's not clear what the 42-year-old startup founder is up to next. However, it's widely thought that StockX may be next in Dan Gilbert's family of companies to go public. And if that's the case, I've noticed over the years that sometimes founders decide to leave as the work and demands of a public company are quite different than a startup or privately held firm. Again, that is just a supposition on my part. StockX, which is valued by investors as a billion-dollar company, is currently headed up by CEO Scott Cutler, who formerly worked at eBay and StubHub. A new ranking of the top pizza places in America by the Daily Meal, not to be confused with the tabloid Daily Mail based out of London, shows pizza from the Motor City and surrounding cities in a good light. 4 of the 101 entrants are local. Now I'll give you a quick rundown of where those 4 come in. Number 94 is Cloverleaf Pizza in East Point. Personal note, that's one of my uncle's favorites. Number 57 is Louie's in Hazel Park. Now that's one of my favorites. I would also say when you're there, try their antipasto salad. Number 35 is Supino Pizzeria in the city. It's the only New York style from here on the list, and if you want a pizza that folds and flops, that's your answer. And the highest local entrant is a local chain, Buddy's, which I'm sure you've heard of a ton of times. That comes in all the way up at number 6. That's in the top 10. Pretty cool. I will put a link to the Daily Meal in the show notes. The top of the list has a place that does a white clam pizza out of Connecticut. I'm not sure about that, but hey, that was number 1. All right, before we get into our next few stories, a reminder that Daily Detroit is powered in large part by people like you. Thanks to James, who joined our bourbon glass tier. You are awesome, as well as all of our members. If you want to join that club of cool people, you can at patreon.com/Daily Detroit. We've got some big goals for the pod, and your support helps keep local conversations like these happening right here in Detroit. We had a really busy weekend with sports, and there's a lot to look forward to. To break it all down, Fletcher Sharpe, how are you, man?
I'm okay. It's getting to be fall weather, so starting to wear a bit more hoodies, but otherwise I'm good.
Well, yeah, and the pace is starting to pick up with some things. The first thing we'll talk about, because we have to, if we're going to do anything around sports, we've got to talk about the Lions. And I got to say, it is, at least in a twisted way, comforting that one thing about 2020 hasn't changed, and the Lions have continued to disappoint us.
Yeah, people were like, hey, it's a pandemic. The world's starting to get back to normal. We want to get some more signs that it's beginning to be normal. The Lions blowing a 13-point lead to lose in the most horrific way possible is literally like, we're back to pre-COVID times.
There was some stupid stuff throughout this thing. I mean, there was that thing with the headbutt with the referee. It's just a series of things.
I had a softball game Sunday, and some of my teammates and I walked up to someone else with a TV in the back of their truck, and we kind of all thought it collectively, where we're like, hey, the Lions are up by 13. It'd be really messed up if they found a way to lose this game, right? And lo and behold, right after that happens, Mitchell Trubisky, who is the second coming of Jake Locker, who's essentially just a linebacker playing quarterback, found Jimmy Graham for a touchdown that they overruled, but he's down at the 1.5-yard line. Next play, he throws a touchdown to receiver Javon Wims. So we're like, all right, it's going to be tough for the Lions now, but they still have a lead. There's about 4 minutes left in the game. They really can't lose this game, right? I remember exactly what happened in the play. Stafford's in shotgun, and in my head, I'm like, Matt, don't do it. Whatever you're thinking of doing, Matt, don't do it. He gets the snap, waits in the pocket for a while, delivers a strike between two defenders that gets deflected and immediately intercepted. And literally everyone around the TV got up and walked away. All 20 people were like, nope. We've seen the rest of this. What happens next? Bears score again, and the Lions get all the way down to the 40-yard line, and someone else who's watching the game goes, hey, man, this is all for entertainment purposes. The Lions will still lose. And we're like, all right, you know what? Hey, man, you're just being a pessimist. They actually have gotten further. Stafford finds Danny Amendola. Boom. They're deep in there. We're like, this is great. Oh, my God, they might actually do it. The Lions this year drafted DeAndre Swift to be their third down running back. A third down running back, for those who don't know, is not the running back who receives rushes out of the backfield. He's the one who goes out there and catches little passes, helps open up your passing game to keep the defense honest. So they drafted this guy out of Georgia for this reason, to catch passes. So why does he find himself open in the end zone by himself with less than 6 seconds remaining, dropping a pass in the end zone? How does this happen? It's like if you signed a guy to hey man, I sharpen pencils, and then he sharpens a pen, or he just breaks the pencil sharpener entirely. And literally as it hit his hands, everyone turned to celebrate, and we were all happy. You've seen those memes where people are happy hugging each other, and one guy's like, wait, look up. And so we heard someone just mumble, oh, he dropped it. And we're like, what? He dropped what? And we look and see him with his hands on his head, and we're like, no. Oh my God. And the thing that really stunk is I'm not even a Lions fan anymore. So when I saw them playing, I'm like, why am I watching this game? I don't care. And they still found a way to hurt me. I don't even care about the result. They still found a way to hurt me. My day was went down from that point. It took a little tumble down. And I'm like, I don't know why. I don't know how they found a way to hurt me, but they weaseled in there, got right where my heart is. They grabbed it, caressed it, and then they just crushed it. And they're like, oh, well, football's back. Welcome. And man.
It's like a terrible ex back in school, the one that you can't really shake, that's still around, but was not a great situation. You just can't shake the Lions.
You've moved on from that ex. You've left your high school. You've gone to college. You become a successful lawyer. You're out here winning major cases, getting your name in the paper, and you're happy. And just all of a sudden, she walks by your house and says hi, and then all of a sudden your life just goes terrible again. From that point forward, it's boom, right down a hill. And just oh man, even just going home and talking to my girlfriend, petting my dog, playing with my cats. I had some back of my head, I'm like, how this guy dropped this ball? And I'm like, I don't know why I care about this. Even now, I'm like, how did he drop the ball? And it's why do I care? I don't know.
But I'll push back here and say that the Lions never should have been in that situation.
Oh, no, and you're correct there, too. Like, it's not just Swift's fault. Swift should have caught the ball, sure. Stafford shouldn't have forced that ball in there for an interception. If they had not done that and the Bears had to go the length of the field to score, they might have still scored. But, like, it would have been a lot harder. The defense definitely should have made some more stops. The only person who really had a good game yesterday was Adrian Peterson, which I'm surprised enough to say that. He almost had 100 yards rushing. I think he finished with 94, but 6.6 yards a carry at his age is great. But, like, save for him, the rest of the team did not have a great day. Time is a flat circle. We start off the season, we have some high expectations for this, but they need to fix this stuff. Week 1 happened, they didn't fix the stuff. Week 4 happens, they didn't fix the stuff. Week 8, we fixed it somewhat. Thanksgiving comes around, we get blown out again.
Well, one thing about that kind of Groundhog Day-like nature is the discussion around the head coach, because a lot of people are already calling for his head on week 1. I mean, I don't know if we got anything other than what we necessarily expected out of Patricia. I mean, seems to be the same old. And before we got on the air, you and I were chatting a little bit, and Patricia's now coached the same number of games that Caldwell did, who got fired because he wasn't good enough. But vastly different results, Fletch.
The thing I feel weird about with Jim Caldwell is, like, they fired him for lack of discipline for the team. The numbers were okay. Like, they had some winning seasons. The Lions have been to the playoffs, I think, 2 of the 3 years that he coached. But they're like, hey, we don't like the fact that we get to the playoffs and we lose because of lack of discipline. I think the last game he coached was that game against the Saints where, like, everyone melted down. I think there were, like, 4 personal foul penalties for people just losing their minds. And, like, as a coach, it's hard to be in that situation because personal foul penalties, someone could, like, scream at the referee and, like, poke him in the eye or something. And that's that person's fault entirely. But you get held accountable as a coach for allowing that to happen. And that's really not fair of the coach. Even though I've made situations where I've been like, okay, that coach needs to control his player. They're all adults. Like, at the end of the day, the coach can give the best, most impassionate speech ever. The most fiery, let's get together as a unit and get everyone rolling. Everyone can be crying, wiping their eyes with towels, ready to go. But all it takes is for one guy to just be like, yeah, forget that. And then the coach is at fault for that. And so, like, we have to understand, like, yes, while the coach is the leader of the team, he's an adult. The person acting is an adult. Adults will do what they want to do at times. That we've all learned that, especially in this pandemic. Adults will do what they want to do. With that being said, when your team is, like, historically not a good team, if a coach brings you to the playoffs 2 out of 3 years, you keep him and work with it. Yes, you want to get better. Yes, every year for sports is you want to get better than you were the year before. If you're a champion, you want to stay a champion. If you're a semifinalist, you want to become a finalist. If you just made the playoffs, you want to get to the semifinals. If you didn't make the playoffs, you want to get to the playoffs. If you were a really bad team, you want to take the step towards being a playoff team. So every step is a step to get better. With the Lions, they kind of plateaued. They were not getting any better, but they really were not being that much worse. So I don't know why you're like, hey, let's copy the Patriots. Because as we've learned in sports, you can't copy people's stuff. The Lions are like, hey, we'll be the Patriots of the Midwest. We'll just take some of their players, take some of their personnel and do it. And you can't do that. That's a whole organizational thing. We don't have that organization. We don't have the whole structure. We don't have that coach. We don't have the quarterback as much as the stands I had for their quarterback. We don't have anything that they had. But we're going to try to copy them. It's not going to work. And, like, it's showing that, yes, we have the respect that we had before. We have whatever. We've also won 9 games under this guy. We've tied a game. Ties are, like, the most improbable thing in American football. And we've tied a game. A game we should have won, and then we definitely should have lost. So, like, I don't know, man. I don't say Patricia gets to finish out his contract, but I'm sure he will. And honestly, if they lose another game like this to a team that they definitely should have beaten, especially a team that they had their foot on their throat, and using the metaphor, let them up and then let them put their foot on Detroit's throat. If this happens again this season, he should not finish this year. He shouldn't. That's so disingenuous to the players who are trying their hardest to allow someone to come in here, scheme the things that they're scheming, and give games away. And yes, I know that falls on the players because you can have the best coaching scheme possible, and your players can just come and mess it all up. But, like, if it happens this many times, it's not just the players. If it happens a few times, sure, the players might have made a mistake. But if you've lost 23, 24 games and only won, like, 9 or so, it's starting to become you, man.
The final thing that we will talk about is a couple of things with Detroit City FC. First off, we know now for sure, Fletcher, you had it ahead of everyone else, so kudos to you. But we now know for sure that historic Keyworth Stadium is going to be the home of a bubble NISA, National Independent Soccer Association fall tournament. What do we know about it so far?
We know that all 8 teams, the 5 in the East and the 3 in the West, will be eligible to play in the tournament. We do know that as of right now, MichiganSstars is currently the number 1 seed with 1 game left in the season between Chattanooga and New Amsterdam. So Chattanooga will probably move ahead of the Stars. We know Detroit City FC is currently in the 4th position in the East, probably taking in that lower bracket side because it's going to be 8 teams. So 2 teams of 4. Probably going to move New Amsterdam over to the Western Conference to make it 4-4. We do know games will be starting September 21st, with the last game being October 2nd. We know we'll be having soccer at Keyworth. We know there won't be fans there either.
Yeah, and we also know that it's going to be a pain in the tail to watch this thing for fans.
Yeah, they're moving from Mycujo, which is bad. Mycujo's not good. I don't want to have rose-colored glasses when looking over Mycujo in the past and be like, oh my God, it was so great. Mycujo was terrible. You could basically broadcast from Mycujo using professional cameras or using Periscope, which is not great. But they're moving from Mycujo and YouTube to BN Sports, which is great for the soccer head. It's great for someone who actually really appreciates the sport because BN is how people watch La Liga. It's how they watch other leagues in the U.S. But the problem with it is BN's not free. It's an actual additional channel on your television.
Well, and it's a channel that not everybody has access to because you and I were trying to put together how to watch this thing, and I couldn't even order BN if I wanted to, being in an Xfinity service area.
Right. You can get it free for your cable, but if you don't have it on your cable channel, you have to then figure out some ways to get it. I have Sling. In order to get BN, you have to pay $30 for Sling, just for a Sling package, and an additional $10 because BN's not one of the regular channels. An additional $10 to get the World Sports package, which includes 3 different channels of BN, which is good if you really want to get into the sport of soccer and understand more stuff. Maybe you want to watch some cricket, maybe you want to watch some Aussie rules football, etc. But if you're just trying to watch Detroit City FC games, you really need to be committed. Otherwise, you need to go to the game, which right now you can't. And while I'm all for rolling out packages to help progress your team, I understand people need to make money. I'm a little miffed and a little confused that while we're in the middle of a pandemic, you roll out a package to make it more expensive to watch your team.
It's not only the more expensive part, but it's also not very clear. It'd be one thing as a fan, if I'm going to sit there and be like, oh, you want $10 for a pass for this thing on this app? Okay, I'll do it. But I can't. So I downloaded the BN app for my phone and my iPad. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and try to do this because I like DCFC. And I was like, all right, I'll pay $10 or whatever. There's no option for that. I have to select some provider, which means that I have to do an additional subscription that's one of them, and my normal cable provider does not count as one. I did notice that there's Dish on there. I know some folks have Dish, so that might be a starting point. So what I've got to do is the same route that you would have to do, which would be Sling plus the BN package. When I get it, if we're going to charge for special content and all this other stuff, I would pay over the $10, $40, and then a new service. It's kind of that's not exactly great for fans.
$40 and a new service just for this tournament. For a whole season investment, okay.
Why not sell it through YouTube for a $10 pass or something?
I can say probably because there were some broadcasting teams that are not using cameras. And I know we've all gotten to the point of near the end of NISA's season where people are now using actual legit audio recording cameras. But back when Mycujo and YouTube were introduced to the NPSL to really be a thing before they became NISA professionally, teams were using their phones, switching from horizontal to vertical mode. So you'd be getting seasick while watching people play because the phones are just shaking the entire time. I see why they moved to BN. In order for them to broadcast on a legit international channel like that, you need to have a situation where everyone has legit recording cameras. You cannot be broadcasting it. And I know starting with Detroit's great because Detroit has their actual broadcast team. Of all the teams of NISA, Detroit has probably the only legit broadcasting team with cameras, color, commentary, sideline reporting, pre and post game, etc. Only thing I've seen different is that New York Cosmos has has a halftime thing, which I don't think is best for sports at all, but whatever. I see why they made the move. I don't think now is a good time for it, but people are gonna people, and if you can afford to do so, you should definitely do it. I'm sure people who follow Detroit City FC, most of them are probably soccer fans already. So they might have BN already. They might have a favorite team in the Spanish league or favorite team in England or France or whatever, so it's their chance to watch that team and also watch Detroit City. But for the average guy from Clio who's just trying to pick up the sport and follow Detroit, it's going to be a bit of a hassle, which is a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, and this is how things are going. I mean, I just know that there's going to be more and more subscriptions out there in the world. I would also feel, I guess, a little bit better if it was something where it was like the team subscription or something, but, we'll put some steps up on the website. But basically, it's get your Sling, which you can get, on any app or whatever, and then get your BN, and then you'll be good to go. And it's a 1 month window. So, you can go ahead and do your thing whenever you start that thing up, and that'll just be your thing. And hopefully DCFC makes it into the tournament a few games.
Yeah, definitely. It would really, really stink for you to buy that package for DCFC and then they get like 1 or 2 games. That'd be really, really be a poor investment. And yes, it's your own money. But speaking as if it was my money, I would not be okay with that. And yet, there's really no one to hold at fault at that point. It's just the team needed to win more games. So,
well, it is what it is, and I'm glad that we're able to actually figure out some way to watch it, even though if it is a bit convoluted. And I know, Fletch, if you can, you're going to be at Keyworth following all of the action yourself. And we might even do some Instagram takeovers or some Twitter takeovers or something like that. All right, if you want to follow Fletch and get the latest, follow him on Twitter, SaintFDW. Alrighty, that's it for your Daily Detroit for today. Thanks so much for listening. If you haven't left a review for us on Apple Podcasts, think about it. Matt from Detroit left a really nice one recently. It helps folks learn more about us. With that, I'm Jairus Days. Take care of each other, and I'll see you around Detroit. Talk tomorrow.